Hey guys, I'm making this video for you guys that can't decide whether to get 16 gigs, 64 gig, or even 128 gigs. Who knows? So we're gonna just look at it and why you guys should go for a little bit more. Now I personally had the experience with a 16 gig, and it didn't go well because I have a few gigs of apps that you will see, and well, we'll get down to it. So here are the prices, and so I'm just gonna have those on the left hand side just so you guys can see them. Now I'm gonna go into settings and I'm just gonna show you guys what a 64 gig iPhone is exactly. So I'm gonna go about, I'm gonna go down, and right down here it tells me how many gigs I have. So keep in mind, this is a 64 gig iPhone. Now, no matter what iPhone it is, okay, 6 Plus, 6, 5S that you're getting, even 5, or even older version of iPhones, 4S, if you're getting a 64 gig, for example, you only have 56.5 gigs available to you. So your iPhone's pretty much eating up almost 10 gigs just for the OS. So the iOS and other things are eating up your gigs already. So from those 64, you have less already. So imagine if you get a 16 gig, if it eats up 10 gigs from your space, well, we're rounding it up to 10 gigs, you only have 6 gigs available. Now what can you do with 6 gigs? Not much. So I'm gonna show you pictures, for example. Now if you go into your pictures, now music, keep in mind I don't have much music, I actually don't have any music. Now I've used up 26 gigs out of these so-called 64 gigs that you saw that are really 56. Now if you go into apps, for example, now you will see some apps that are really good, such as Nova 3. You can play, it's an online game, it's free, and it takes up 1.9 gigs. That's 2 gigs just on one app. Now usually people have a lot of apps, and that's because there's a lot of good ones out there. Now there's one that actually I had my eye on, which is PlayTube. It's pretty good. A lot of people like that app, and it takes up 1.4 gigs. Okay, so these are just examples. One of the major ones is Tomtom Gps. Now this doesn't use your internet, and that's why it takes up 1.8 gigs, because it has all that information on your iPhone. Now you really have to think what type of apps you're gonna have. Now let's say you don't download these high-end apps like I have that have really good graphics, and that's why they have so much weight on them. Even Facebook and other just regular apps that you will have will take up 200 megabytes each, just around 200 megabytes each. So they do add up. Now I do have a bunch of apps on this phone. Most of the storage is just taken up by apps. Videos and pictures, I don't really have that many, just because I do take them out. Every 1,000 pictures I take them out and put them on my Mac, and I back them up there, and then I just erase them from my phone. Same thing goes for videos. Immediately I just transfer them to my Mac and just keep them there, because videos will take a bunch of space as well. So if you don't want to limit yourself on how much videos and pictures you can take, then don't do that, okay? So photos, right now I have 200 pictures and it's already 1.2 gigs. Now for most of you, 200 pictures is nothing. It might be just one weekend at camping, and even then you guys might have even more pictures than that. So keep in mind, most people usually have from 1,000 to 2,000 pictures minimum on their iPhone, so that will take a couple gigs from your phone. And if you have a 16 gig, then you're always going to be running out. You're always going to be looking at what you can erase to make more space. And if you like taking video especially, you're gonna run out so fast. So this just gives you a quick glance of why you guys shouldn't really go for the 16 gig. If you guys can't really afford it, then yeah, go ahead. But I don't recommend it. I had a 16 gig, I've only used it for 2 weeks, and I just traded up for a higher end one with a 64 gig. 64 gig for my personal use is good enough, but apps are getting better, so more resolution, and just to keep more and more space on your phone itself, so you might need even more gigs down the road. But 64 gigs for me, especially, I take a lot of video, pictures, I have a bunch of apps, and 64 gigs has done it for me. I've always tried to keep my pictures, like I said, backed up on my Mac, but that's what I've seen, that's what I recommend myself. just go for the 64 gig if you don't spend too much money. Now if you have a little bit more, then go for the 128, especially if you want to take a lot of video. Okay, if you want to take regular video, let's say once a week you go somewhere and you take a lot of video from a park or somewhere you go, then 64 gig will be fine. If you want to have a lot of apps like you see here that take up a bunch of space, then same thing. I mean, you don't need that much, but I just don't recommend the 16 gig. At least get 32 gigs. With 32 gigs, you will have enough space just to have regular amount of apps, let's say, and take some video and some pictures. 16 gig will not give you any space, and I've seen some 4Ss being sold, the 8 gig 4Ss on eBay. Now all those are pretty much refurbished or customer returned or just refurbished, most of them, although they don't say refurbished. Now those I don't suggest getting. You're just gonna end up using your iPhone as a phone. You won't get pretty much any apps there. I mean, you will get just your basics, so Facebook, Twitter, and that's about it. With 8 gigs, you won't have any space because those 8 gigs, like I said, your iOS will eat up your 8 gigs. So you might have a gig or two left over just for your personal use, which nowadays is pretty much nothing. So consider that into when you're buying an iPhone. I will repeat again, don't get the 16 gig, get at least 32 gigs, and if you can afford it, go for the 64 gig. And 128 gigs, yeah, I can see that happening, but not necessary. But at least get the 64 gig. Anyways, I hope this helped you guys out. If you guys have any comments, questions, you can write them here below. And don't forget to subscribe and rate. Thank you.